At ClearCut PR, we're on a mission to get brilliant, hardworking entrepreneurs the publicity they deserve. As a fellow entrepreneur, I like to share my successes and my failures that I've had along the way as well, including all the people in my life. So I brought Patrick with me here today. Patrick has a great business running an Amazon agency to get your products onto Amazon and to continue selling them at a rate that's going to make you a successful entrepreneur. I want to talk a little bit about that today with him and see what his successes, his failures were, his obstacles along the way, and how he overcame them. Hey, Patrick.
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Pretty good. Finally here to see where you make the donuts.
Yeah, this is
very impressive.
This is where we make the donuts. I usually call it the sausage, but you know, the donuts
making the sausage
are a little bit sweeter.
Yes, they are. The donuts are definitely sweeter.
Well, Patrick is also a fellow Jersey guy too, as we are based here in New Jersey, and you know, there's no one I'd rather have on for the first episode or the first take on this than another Jersey guy, as we kind of ease everybody into this, or if we just overwhelm you with our Jersey attitudes. But I know I kind of introduced it a little bit, but why don't you tell everybody about yourself and your business?
Okay. So basically at Skunk Labs, what we do is we develop Amazon FBA businesses, right? So consider us like a business development company for Amazon specifically. And within that, we include all business development services, you know, the geeky stuff behind it, all the analytics, as well as all the creative as well. So it's a full stack agency at the end of the day.
I want to come to that part later on, the geeky stuff, the boring stuff, all of that. But what I want to talk about first is right now, you have a really cool free course that you're offering out there, right? I want to tell everybody that's watching this about that free course, because a lot of my followers have products that they're looking to get on Amazon. And I would imagine that the course that you have will kind of lead them into that, right?
Absolutely.
Talk a little bit about that for me.
Yeah, so the reason why we developed the free course is within our industry, you know, Amazon specifically, I mean, all industry, there's courses, right? And there's nothing wrong with courses at all. But they're always very expensive, especially the good ones. They're super expensive. So we came up with the idea of why not just offer this for free? You know, we were never in a course game. A lot of guys out there, the whole livelihood's the course. They don't even do the thing. Right? Not that I'm calling anybody out, but you know, we can easily just offer this training for free, right? And it was a lot of work. Let's not kid ourselves here. It took us 6 months, right? We're doing it in between other stuff. It's, you know, very highly edited, highly produced. And you can essentially learn Amazon FBA in 30 days for absolutely free, right? So why not put that out there? Why not offer that to people when at the end of the day, they're not even really my core demographic for clients anyway, right? These are people just starting out. You should have that opportunity, right? People should be able to do this for free and figure out if they even want to do it. How many people you run into where they think they want to do a business, but then they don't really understand what the business is, and then they've spent so much money already, then they can't go back. Right? It's crazy. So why bother?
Yeah, and that's a point I want to talk about on another note further, which is that once you get to a certain point in entrepreneurship, you owe a debt to the people out there trying to make it. So you got to give away some of the free things, some of the things that helped you become successful, because you're at the point where you want to see the tide raise up, including, you know, everybody else that's trying to get into it. I want to talk about this course a little more, but tell me what the URL is so we can flash it on the screen for everybody.
30dayfba.com.
30dayfba.com. That's 30dayfba.com,
yes,
right?
sir. Real simple.
All right, we'll flash that on the screen for everybody this way. If there's anybody that has a product-based business, that they can go there and check it out. When they do, what can they expect? How do they sign up? And then what are they going to receive first?
So basically, you sign up, you get access to a free Facebook group, which is a growing community right now, which is really fantastic. And every single day, you'll get an update. It gets dripped out to you, right? So every single day, you'll have a new module. That's designed that way by design. We don't want to overwhelm anybody, right? And it's laid out in that way, right? Some days are easier than others. Some days are a 10-minute video. Other days are a 15-minute video, right? So we design that based on what we think a new entrepreneur needs, where they are committing to themselves every single day. That's why it's every single day it'll get dripped out, and they're proving to themselves that they can do this every day. And if you could do this every day and find 30 minutes in a day to do this, how good are you going to feel, right? Like they've kind of carved out that time in the day. So it's not just, hey, take the course and you'll learn stuff. It's also teaching them how to, because a lot of people have a 9-to-5 still, right? Teaching them you can carve out this time in the day. And if you can't do at least 30 minutes in a day, you shouldn't be doing anything, right? It'll teach you that you need to, you know, set this time aside. So it's teaching them that as well, time management at the end of the day.
For sure. So who else is this course absolutely right for? Who are you hoping to pick up this course and then just absolutely get to that aha moment, like, boom, I got it. This is exactly what I needed?
Mostly people who potentially already have a product, right? So maybe you already have a product and you've been thinking about doing Amazon, right? I mean, it could work for people too if they want to, start from scratch and source products from overseas. But I find this to be the most beneficial for someone who maybe already has a product. They're not sure what to do to actually get it on Amazon, right? And this can guide them. This can guide them to at least understand things before they decide, am I going to do this myself? Or maybe even, I don't know, even us, right? I mean, we're not pushing our services in there, but if they wanted to, now they know us, and, we can help them out as well and offer them, services if they wanted to. So people with products at the end of the day.
My flip side of that usually is, who is this wrong for? And I understand the obvious answer is people without products. But let's just say I do have a product.
Yeah, well, there are people it's wrong for.
Okay.
Lazy people. Lazy people, entitled people. No, you shouldn't. Those people shouldn't do a business.
Yeah, because they're gonna look at a course like this and they're gonna play victim and say, this won't be. I'm successful while I'm doing this because whatever, and they'll make that excuse along the way.
Yeah.
That's kind of a good transition into something else that I want to talk about too, which is just entrepreneurship in general, and especially you're gonna see it in your field. We see it in ours all the time, which is somebody that will come to us for questions, asking about how to get on Amazon or asking about how to get publicity, and we'll tell them, and it's, I tried that. Okay. But often we find that the answer is not that you didn't try it, but you didn't do it for long enough. Or not that you didn't even do it the right way. You did the right thing for about a fraction of the time you should have to see the results. Do you see a lot of that in your business as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm like the worst salesman in the world with new clients, because I pride myself, not negative, but I like to be real with people, right? Even with our YouTube videos and stuff like that, I'm known as the guy from New Jersey with a bad attitude, right? Because I'm not always just trying to make it all sound like unicorns and rainbows, because it's not, right? There's no reason to gaslight people, because I hate that when people do that, because then people feel like they're not achieving something, because, you know what I mean? Like if you just straight up BS them or whatever it is. But when it comes down to those kinds of people, right? When I tell them straight up, especially if they're an established business, right? And they know how long stuff normally takes to get going. But some people essentially look at Amazon and they're like, oh, well, you're on Amazon. And they act like that's an achievement on its own. Yeah. You see it all the time, right? Even you might get maybe some PR stuff, right? Oh, we're on Amazon now.
Yeah.
Cool. Like if you have an agency like us, it's actually fairly easy to get on Amazon, depending on what it is, right? Yeah. So they kind of look at it that way. So we break it down for them and we say, look, it's going to take about 90 days for you to see results. Well, what happens if I don't see results in 90 days? Well, then we don't work together anymore. It's that simple.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
It's funny because there's a lot of similarities not only between us but our businesses. One, being from Jersey, we're allergic to bullshit. So when we see that somebody's not doing something, we're going to call it out, and we're not always going to do it in a nice way. We're going to call your baby ugly. Yeah, and that's okay. You actually need that in entrepreneurship. You need people to look at what you're doing and point out the pitfall or the tripwire that you're about to go into and say, look, don't go there. Like we did this already. And some people just don't want to listen to it, which is okay. Those aren't the right customers, and those aren't the people that are going to get there. There's some people that just want to do it their way. But a lot of the other similarities are like what you said. People think that they have the thing and that's the accomplishment on their own. We see it all the time in publicity. They say, oh, I got a publication about a year ago. It didn't do anything for me. I said, well, what'd you do with it? Oh, we put it on our website, and which is actually, I'll get into that another time, which is a whole other thing that you shouldn't do. You shouldn't put the link on your website. I'll talk about that another time. But they think that the achievement was getting the publicity, just like they think that the achievement is getting on Amazon. No, you're on Amazon so that people can find you, so they can buy your product. Yep. You get publicity. This way you can use the publicity to advertise your product or service. So you essentially just were handed a tool that you didn't have before, being on Amazon, getting publicity. Now, our main thing is to get you the results with that publicity. Your main thing is not to get them on Amazon, it's to get their product sold on Amazon, this way that you can re-up, this way you can keep fulfilling, this way you can keep doing that. So talk a little bit about the things that you do once they're actually on Amazon to help them gain success on Amazon.
Because even just to take a quick note off that, because what's more impressive, I'm on Amazon, or check out my Amazon product with 100 5-star reviews.
Yeah.
That comes later, right? So it's kind of like a mix of that, right? So that's the achievement, right? And then it's kind of hard to fake it on Amazon. You're either making sales or you're not. Yeah. You know what I mean? People aren't stupid. They can kind of figure that out. So going back to what you just said, I'm sorry, say that again. Say that again.
So what are you doing after they're on Amazon? And they obviously some of them say, okay, and I'm on Amazon. I got to do the next thing now. Some of them say, I'm on Amazon, I don't need your help. But the ones that say, I'm on Amazon, I now need help selling my product and getting to that next level, which is a huge cliche phrase in entrepreneurship, getting to the next level.
Yep.
Like, you need to know what that next level is
Yep.
before you want to get there.
Yep.
But how are you helping them get to their next level in their Amazon journey?
So what we do is, in like 99% of cases, we'll go through all the creative and make sure the creative is correct to start with from the get-go, right?
Yeah.
Then once we get to that point, then we launch. We like to do reviews before we launch. That's kind of complicated for a lot of people, but we'll put reviews on a product before we actually physically launch. And then we optimize. And we optimize with all the geeky stuff, right? We're looking at click-through rate, just like Google, right? Kind of same idea with Google Ads. We're looking at click-through rates. We're looking at conversion rates and things like that. And we optimize based on that. And that's how you grow, right? So it's like I said, a lot of the geeky stuff that people don't want to hear. It's not that sexy, right? It's better to say, oh, I'm the man. I know what I'm doing. Just come with it. We're the best, right?
Yeah.
Why are you the best, right? What are you doing? And that's all the proprietary stuff that people don't talk about. But I think a lot of people don't talk about it because they're actually not doing it.
Do you talk about this in your course at all?
Yeah, of course.
All right, so 30dayfba.com, right? 30dayfba.com goes over all of this, how to get on Amazon, how to get sales when you're on Amazon.
Complete setup, everything.
So let's say I go through your 30-day course and everything, and I bought into it. I'm in. Thank you for all of that. Now I have all this knowledge. What's the next step after that?
So they can either go ahead and do it themselves. They could reach out to us for help. We do consulting, right? That's a significant portion of our business where we manage client accounts, or we're offering mentoring and coaching now as well for those people who want to do it themselves but maybe just need a helping hand. Right?
How long has Skunk Labs been in business for?
We've been in business for 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that beginning when you were getting your teeth kicked in a little bit. How did that?
It wasn't always easy, right? So we were fortunate where in the beginning we had, it was slow in the beginning, but then there was a big influx.
Yeah.
Right? COVID.
Yeah.
Right? And then right in the middle of everything with COVID, shipping rates went up tremendously. At the time, we were actually doing a lot of product sourcing. So our product offerings change over time. We do more of what we think is people are going to get the most value out of.
Yeah.
And we were doing more of the sourcing as well. So importing stuff from China, for them, right? So we're not importers or anything like that, but for them, helping them import products into China to then launch on Amazon. During the worst shipping period ever, during COVID. You know how many shipping companies went bankrupt during that time?
Wow.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So that was a very difficult time for us. We came out of it at the end of the day, right? But that was tough. We had to get through that. We had to do a lot of extra work to make sales because we had to raise prices. So in a lot of cases, we were the most expensive because we still wanted to make sure the clients were making profit. That was a tough time, for sure.
Yeah. So entrepreneurship is always
every day, man. Every day.
For somebody, at any point, there's going to be something you need to overcome, something that you either decide to quit and give up or say, nope, I'm going to do everything that it takes to get to the pot of gold at the end of this long, terrible, rocky journey. So, what keeps you focused day to day on that goal?
So I don't necessarily get worried. I always think like this. I don't think of if something's going to work. I think what happens if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
What's the risk here, right? So that's always kind of what I think about. And we try to stay as positive as possible, right? And we walk the walk. Our team sees it every single day. I don't want to point her out, but the person in the room with us right now, right? She knows. She sees every day how difficult it can be, right? So, we don't try to say business is easy every day, right? We have our struggles too. We're not perfect. We're very straightforward with our clients, so they understand that. Some can take it, some can't, right? Yeah. But it's just you just got to come in every day and keep doing it. If someone tells you it's like, oh, business it's easier, do this, because you see so much of this crap where it's like, oh well, quit your 9 to 5 and you live this life.
Yeah.
But they forget about all the struggle that's involved there, and it's not necessarily easier.
Yeah.
Right? It's the freedom you get from it. Yes, you get freedom from it. Like we could just do this, whatever, right? Like we just came together today and you gave me a couple days notice and whatever, and we're just hanging out, right?
Yeah.
You can't do that if you work for somebody. Right? But you have a for sure paycheck and stuff like that, right? So it's different as an entrepreneur. If people need to get used to that and need to understand that every day isn't going to be perfect.
Yeah, and that brings up 2 points. I want to talk about both of them, but one of them is that, people think that if I can just do this, if I could just make my first million, if I could just get my first 10 customers, it never gets easier. There's always a challenge presented in front of you. Even after you overcome the challenge ahead of you, lies another 10 challenges, another 10 challenges after that. Every single time, there's always going to be another challenge, and you need to get very, very comfortable with the fact that you will never be comfortable. That's the only thing that's promised to you.
Yes, you shouldn't be anyway. And you know what's the scariest thing? It's like once you make that money, it's actually a mind fuck.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, what's next? Right? And then you go on to the next thing. And it's almost like it's so weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like once you achieve success in something, if you're not moving on to the next thing, you kind of feel like you're done, and it actually can be a little depressing.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I've suffered from this. Like, you get to a certain level, right? And that's why I'm always looking for new stuff to do. I don't know if it's a sickness or what it is. Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe we're just the way we are.
There's more pressure. So this is the early stage entrepreneur, the middle stage, and the late stage entrepreneur. The early stage entrepreneur, your biggest problem is always sales and marketing. Once you master sales and marketing, you now have resources.
Yep.
Now your problem, and you're tasked with as an entrepreneur, how do I now use these resources to continue to scale my company? And you move into this like scarcity mindset of, I need my first 100 customers. And once you get them and you master that sales and marketing, now you move into this mindset of, okay, now I need to build a team. And that's another thing that you spoke about. You got some of the right people on your team. And now that you have that team, you need to learn how to allocate these resources appropriately so that your company can grow, so that your garden can grow. I can't just water one half of my garden that I've been doing, which is sales and marketing, which is what I've been doing to get me to the $1 million. I now need to water my entire garden because we got to get to $10 million, which means I need different people leading their own departments. I have to take all the obstacles out of their way and give them all the resources to get their things done too. Which brings me up to the next thing that you said.
You know where people make mistakes? They do sales and marketing, and then they do the thing. And then they stop doing sales and marketing to go do the thing because they got all these new clients, because they get them in waves, and they stop doing sales and marketing. And now they're chasing their ass constantly, and they can't scale. It's exactly what you just said.
So so one way to combat that too, because like this is how I got my teeth kicked in the beginning too. Was the same thing. I did sales and marketing. We achieved our first $1 million. Great. So I said, I don't need to do sales and marketing anymore. I'm just gonna focus on customer success. We're gonna retain the customers, which is good. We did good retention, but there's a little thing called churn rate, which is as well as you can do customer success, you're still going to have customers that drop off, which means that your sales and marketing still needs to be firing on all cylinders. And now that I'm not doing it anymore, where I got my teeth kicked in was here's a step that I skipped, that I don't want people to skip this step. Once you move on from customer acquisition to customer retention, make sure you have a very well-written SOP for customer acquisition for somebody else to take over. And then you hand that person that responsibility with an outline of every single day how they're going to continue to get new customers for that department. This way you can now work on customer success, right? And you talked a little bit about that. You said that you have good people in there as well too. What are some of the roles that your people are filling right now?
So we have Miranda, who's actually right there. So she's our media director. So she takes care of all things media. So whether it's something you see on Instagram, YouTube, or even just our general creative, right? So the stuff that we actually do for clients. We actually did a video together the other day and realized how many Amazon pictures she's taken since she's been with us. It was 4,000 pictures she's taken. That's amazing. That is an amazing number, right? So we have that going on. We have some staff overseas, very little. Because they're trained by us, so we try to keep everything on this side of the world as possible. Then we have Eric, who's our director of operations. So he essentially runs the external staff, right, that we have overseas that helps out. That helps keep costs down for our clients. Right. Otherwise, I have to charge you like $5,000 a month or something for it to make sense, right? So that helps keep costs down for the clients. So yes, that's essentially how we do it. Then it's myself, and then we have some additional staff that comes in at certain times of year when we really need it. But for the most part, I'd rather have a few US-based people and some external, but really well-paid, highly skilled people, and then they manage their own little teams. To me, that makes the most sense.
So your media is your marketing right now. So you're essentially empowering other people to continue marketing as you continue to also use your operations people. And then you have your mind on the bigger picture stuff right now, making sure that you're generating resources for all of these parts of your garden to grow, right?
Yes. And for us, it's easy because it's simple as, even though we don't have like a huge YouTube following, it's as simple as you do some lives, you do some videos and stuff like that. Doesn't take a lot of views to get leads. Like, I'm not guaranteeing anything, but if your stuff's good and you're like approachable, right? People like what you're saying. So little things like that, it's like, that's kind of like guerrilla stuff I'll do too. It's like, okay, we need a little something right now, or I'm just bored, and on a Saturday, I'll just do like a quick live, right? You get 2-3 emails out of that. That's amazing, right? So that's a good way to kind of generate leads. We've suffered from that same thing too. That's why I bring it up to say, hey, you have to focus on this, because we've done the same thing where it's like you get so busy and you start scaling the side, like, okay, let's do the thing now, right? You start scaling that and you forget about what's happening over here for lead generation.
Right.
The reality is you need to scale this, keep doing this, and then keep scaling the actual service or whatever it is that you're doing.
And that's where a solid SOP comes in, right? That's where a solid playbook comes in, is once you see the successes and how to avoid the tripwires and the pitfalls, you write that out, you write out the results of it and everything too. One of the things that you said to me in the past that really I don't know, it kind of made me see my counterpoint in you. And one of the things I resonated with, because it's one of the things that I talk about a lot, which is, stay disciplined, stay focused. And a lot of times that means doing the things you don't want to do.
Yeah.
The boring stuff, as you called it, is doing the boring stuff. And that's where the details are made. And that's where the success is made for the entrepreneurs that are doing everything at first. And, they're not willing to do the boring stuff. They want to contract that stuff out right away. They want to get it off their plate. And I'm not against that, but they do need to be able to do it themselves first. So talk a little bit about the boring things that you do and how that helped you gain success in your field.
So it's about the analytics, man. Yeah. It's about the data. And people don't want to hear that all the time because they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Right? They want to make cool Instagram posts and YouTube videos and stuff. Cool, man. That's all good, right? That comes with it, right? That's okay. You're the CEO of the company. You're the boss. That's kind of the privilege you get.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I like to still stay very involved personally in the very boring stuff, because that's what made this successful to start with, and that's really where my knowledge comes from.
Yeah.
Right. That's the stuff no one else wants to do. Right. We're digging into, click-through rates. We're digging, to the extent on some stuff I can't even share, that we're using some like data mapping and stuff because it's becoming proprietary, right?
Yeah.
Like I could tell you where a mouse goes on Amazon, and I'm not going to tell anybody necessarily those details of it, right? That's very important to me, because we make let's say on Amazon, right? You make a very good listing, right? And then you look at the fine details, how you're converting. And we have a friend who is a client of ours, and their costs right now, so their advertising cost of sales is only 8.4%.
Okay.
I can't do anything to make that worse. Like, we're actually trying.
Right.
Because it's so finely tuned. How do you get that?
Yeah.
Being a geek.
Yeah.
Like really looking at the stuff that nobody else wants to look at.
They don't want to look at it. And a lot of times they do it. And this is the other thing we were talking about before. They're doing the right thing. They'll sit down, they'll do the analytics, the boring stuff, but they won't do it long enough. And a lot of times, especially in the beginning of entrepreneurship, that's where the success is made. It's sitting down, staying emotionally disciplined, emotionally focused on this one thing, which nobody else wants to do. That's the thing you got to realize, is that your competitors, they don't want to do this stuff. You want a differentiator, you got to do the things that they're not willing to do. You got to sit down, they're only willing to do it for 1 hour. You want to be 10 times better than them? Do it for 10 hours.
Exactly.
And look at the results.
Yeah, and some stuff's more simple than others. Like, say you're running like an Instagram ad or something like that, right? They'll do like 100 impressions. Yeah. And be like, oh, it didn't. I only got 6 clicks. I got no sales. Do 1,000 impressions. Yeah. Go from there, right? And then you can really. That's a big thing we see too right away. Like they like exactly what you said. They don't want to stick with it long enough, right? Yeah. Or they just didn't give it enough time and they give up on it so quick. And then this is what I ask them, right? This like gets people all the time. How can you give up on yourself so easily? Yeah. All this shit you've done, right? Now you give up on yourself, right? All these sacrifices you've made, right? You've told all these, like you're very happy to talk about it and tell everybody how you're a business owner, right? Yeah. But you'll give up on yourself privately. Yeah. How? How can you do that? One thing I love about the people that are finding success is, I have these conversations with these people, and it's the common denominator I see when I see that they're getting traction, and they still want that next level. But I ask them how they're getting their traction, and it's always that answer. It's always, I sat down, I did this thing for X amount of time. Nobody else in my industry wants to do it, so I've made myself the leader in my industry by doing this thing. And I love that when I see that. When I have that person in front of me, I know that I have somebody that I can work with that's going to get results from their publicity, that's going to do the boring things. They're going to pick apart their piece of publicity. They're going to make it into 20 different posts. They're going to put it in all their Facebook groups. They're going to engage with everybody that reacts to it, and they're going to do the things that are going to get the results for their publicity. Results, followers, leads, revenue, all the things that they want from their publicity. It doesn't happen just by getting the publicity. It happens by doing the boring things afterwards. Yep. I'll get you the tool. I'll get you the publicity, the recognition, and then I'll show you how to make yourself credible with that publicity, but it's going to come with the boring stuff. And it takes time. You have to rinse and repeat. You have to keep doing it, right? And some want to do it, and it's no one really wants to, like, people don't talk about it so much, or you don't maybe, and I'm glad you're doing this and you're talking about this, because maybe it doesn't get clicks, or maybe it's, you know what I mean? It's not as popular to talk about, but that's really what it comes down to. This is not the sexy part of entrepreneurship. No. This is not the entrepreneurship that you see all over the internet from some guy that rented a Lamborghini or something like that in front of an Airbnb house to show you how he's successful, when he's not really successful. He's just successful at making a really cool looking video. What happens in entrepreneurship for success is the stuff that happens at 11 o'clock at night when you are dead tired, you've had an 18-hour day, and you have that decision to make among yourself, which is, I can put in this other 30 minutes of work so I can get a head start on tomorrow, or I'm going to convince myself that
I'm not going to get that great a work out of it, so I might as well just go to bed and then do it tomorrow. That's a fucking lie, all right? You're lying to yourself, and you're believing the lie, which is even worse. Do the work, do the boring thing, 30, 40 minutes of the boring thing, because you know who's not doing 30, 40 minutes of the boring thing? The person ahead of you right now that you're trying to get ahead. You know who's not doing the extra 30, 40 minutes of the boring thing? The person barking up your trail. You want to pull ahead of them, and you want to jump ahead of your competitor. And that's the only way it's going to happen, is by doing the non-sexy stuff that nobody can see. You're not going to get any credit for it, but what you are going to get are results. And the results are long-term. You're not going to get any credit. People aren't going to click on the thing that you do at 11:30 at night, the boring thing that you're going to do then. It's you and only you, and that's where character is built. It's who you are when nobody is watching.
Exactly. I agree completely. 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what you said. You have these people that they're online, all these little Instagram ads and stuff like that. People forget, like they just listen to what people are telling them to do, but you shouldn't listen to what people tell you to do. You should watch and see what they're actually doing if you want to really emulate success. Don't just listen to what people are telling you to do, because all those guys are full of shit at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let me hang out in front of my Airbnb and my Lambo. It's like all the new hot things that people are talking about, right? Scams and things like that. And they look at that and think that's how they're going to build a business. That's not how you build a business.
Yeah.
Like, they look up to the wrong people.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're looking at the wrong stuff, and then you get scammed or something, and entitlements, you know what I mean? It's just this bad path you go down, right? So it's not that. It's working hard, and nobody wants to talk about it because it doesn't make for good content.
No, I like the nerdy stuff, and I like getting elbow deep in the nerdy stuff. And here's the thing too. At some point, you're gonna have to come away from that nerdy stuff and do other nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
And self-awareness is a huge thing in entrepreneurship. What step am I at? What does the next step look like? Let me identify it. Let's not throw around cliche phrases like the next level. What is the next level? What is the quantifiable goal that tells you you're at that next level? And then once you're at that level, what's the next quantifiable goal? That self-awareness is everything in entrepreneurship. This way you have a clearly defined goal of what you're gonna do. You have a roadmap of SOPs of the nerdy things that you have to do to get there. And then obviously comes the focus and the discipline to sit down and actually do it also too. So let's talk about for like a market eclipse for you, right? Which we call like the hockey stick in entrepreneurship. Where did you see your market eclipse? And it's almost like the Supreme Court's definition of porn. You know it when you see it. You know what I mean? Like you'll know. If you don't know and you're not self-aware, you know it when you see it. You know the market eclipse. I have so many entrepreneurs that are like, I think I'm in the middle of it, and it's like, if you think, then you don't know. You know what I mean? As horribly put as this is, and I might get canceled on the internet. If your girlfriend says she thinks she came, she did not come. Okay.
I think I did. So, or if you have to ask.
So if you have to ask, you're not there. So for you, what was your market eclipse in your business where you're like, okay, we're there. We need to start thinking about how we're really going to focus this in now for our next step?
So basically, once I realized, probably honestly, within like a year or less when we first started, because I realized this started by accident.
Yeah.
Right. So people asking me personally to do stuff for them, right? Because they knew me from the industry, and then I realized that this could become a thing. Right? This can really become a thing and become a business all on its own just from helping other people, and then seeing how profitable it can actually be. Yeah. Right? So some will say, well, why don't you just sell your own products? We do. Yeah. And we even have a public account now that we show people as case study. I can't be more transparent with you, right? Right. Some products are doing terrible. I'm not even going to hide it, right? We're not perfect, right? And that kind of gets people used to that whole idea of it, that something might fail, right? But for us, it was that. So I started seeing the demand that was behind this whole thing, and it's all about taking that and then implementing as quickly as you can, so you don't lose it. That's really what it comes down to.
And was it like a monetary goal for you, or was it like a customer acquisition, or like how fast did it happen for you? And you just looked at it and you said, okay, like here I am, I made it. This is no longer an accident. We need to be very intentional about what we're doing. Like, what was the quantifiable thing for you?
$1 million.
$1 million? Yeah. $1 million in rev?
Once we crossed $1 million, I was like, okay, shit. Yeah. So I've had other businesses, right? And this happened quick compared to, because I've always been very product focused. Product takes a long time, right? You need to go through different iterations of product, and you can only sell products so fast. You can only scale that so fast. This was a little bit different because it's a service-based business, right? So you could scale that much faster with the appropriate marketing
Yeah.
Right? Knowing data, I know data not just for Amazon, I know data for other things to bring in clients, right? So all these skills that you've acquired over time help you scale something that much faster. That's why this scaled as quickly as it did. It was stuff that I've learned in the past. But once I got to about 1 million, I was like, okay, this is a real thing, and we need to really kind of double down on this, right? And the next 1 million came in half the time, like legitimately in half the time, which is great.
That's good. That's good self-awareness. One other thing I want to talk about that you spoke about before is so often you hear that in order to be serious about entrepreneurship, you need to quit your 9 to 5, or you need to do something like this. I actually tend to err on the other side of that.
Me too. I agree.
Which I think needs to be spoken about a lot more. There's too much shaming going on out there, which says that if you don't quit your 9 to 5 and do this, then you don't take it seriously. And I think that's kind of bullshit. I like the phrase transitioning entrepreneur, and I think that's the right way to do it. But you also need to know that that's also going to be one of the hardest times in your entire journey, because now you have to fit into this 9 to 5 mold of what you're going to do at the same time that you're trying to build your business. And as you mentioned, we have freedoms here that we don't have in the beginning of our transitioning journey. So as you were doing it, and as you said, this was an accident. What was your journey like in the beginning? Were you transitioning, or were you just
no? So
all in?
I basically, almost 10 years ago, I left my corporate job. It's when I started selling my own products on Amazon, right? That's where I started to see the success. And then years later, this happened, right? Where people wanted me to help, and I started an agency and all that stuff. But for a long period of time, I kept my job.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what I was doing, right? And whoever I told at the job, hey, I'm selling on Amazon, they looked at me almost like, what are you talking about? That's even a thing? They looked at me like I was an idiot.
Yeah.
Meantime, they had no idea how much revenue I was making. I didn't have to be there anymore at all.
Yeah.
At all. But it was almost like, for me, it was different. I was scared to leave because I liked all the benefits, right? All that jazz. I liked all that. I still liked wearing a suit every day, going into I enjoyed that. When things got difficult at said job for, management changes, things like that, it made it easier. But I was very comfortable with doing it on the side, because I had to, basically I was working, I'd get home, 5 o'clock, I'd eat something. I had no life. I kind of still don't, but that's fine. I'm okay with that. I'd eat something, right? And I'd work. And I'd work on my Amazon stuff, right? And for me, even if, I'm not going to say the number, but even if it makes you like an extra $20,000 a year to have this side hustle, it's totally worth it. It's free money. Right, it's not free money, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So I think people need to get away from the idea of having a business. You can't work a job and have a business. Lots of our clients, they, like, for example, one of my clients makes $600,000 a year at his job. He's not going to quit his job. Right. But that enables him to fund his Amazon products like without a problem, without blinking, because the stuff costs money to do, right? And he's probably doing about equal that on Amazon at this point, right? So he's basically doubled his money, and he doesn't have to worry about that business at all because he's working with us. Not saying you have to work with us at all, but basically you can do that, right? You can kind of have both. And I don't see why people shame others for maybe keeping a 9 to 5. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's a huge point too. So like there's shame happening on both sides, right? There's either being shamed for keeping your 9 to 5 and transitioning, or the other thing that you mentioned is you were starting your entrepreneurship journey, right? And you had this 9 to 5 job, and people at your job couldn't understand why you're doing this other thing.
I regretted telling anybody, man, because like people would like look at you like an asshole, or then it spreads, and then management's like, oh, this fucker's up to no good. He's like, what are you talking about? Like, I bust my ass. Like, it's the weirdest thing.
That's another thing that early stage entrepreneurs face, is almost a shaming from the other side. And what we don't talk about enough is what's happening on that side of the ball, right? Because like they don't want to put up with the shame, because they think that those thoughts, the people that are shaming them, are valid. But what they need to understand is that person in that job that has a 9 to 5 job that's shaming you for your entrepreneur journey, for you actually taking a chance, they are seeing that you may actually be getting some sort of success in actually trying your own thing and taking risks. And what they see, the person who's shaming you, what they see is that if they were to go ahead and try, that they might be successful as well, but they're not willing to do it. And because of that, what they're going to do is they're going to try and drag you down, and they're going to try and put you down, because if you fail, then that means that they would have failed, and that they're okay and that they're doing the right thing because they never tried.
Yeah.
The person is shaming you because they never tried and they were never willing to try. You are brave. You took the leap, you did the thing, and if you make it, that means that they could have, which means that they're failing if you make it. So then comes the shame as well. So you need to realize that when people are shaming you and telling you not to go through this route of entrepreneurship, they're doing it because they're afraid themselves. So their fear is now being projected on you, and it comes out in the form of shame.
Yeah, or like they don't see it in you for whatever reason. It gives you an idea of what they actually think of you, right? Like their perception of you, right? That happens at jobs. Unfortunately, sometimes it happens with family. That's the sad part when that starts to happen, right? They don't believe in you, right? Whatever it is. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You do what you want.
It's resentment, right?
Yeah.
And we face that as entrepreneurs is like in your circle. I've talked to people that have totally supportive circles that they fully, they have husbands, wives, parents, brothers, sisters, everyone that supports them. And then I have the flip side of that is that they're like, everybody in my circle is telling me not to do this. And it's resentment because those are people that, you know, they don't fully support you and they kind of want to see you fail. So a lot of what's happening in their life is that, you know, they're getting shamed by people that don't fully believe in them because they don't want to feel like, you know, they could have made it themselves, and they want to see you fail so that they can feel better about what they're doing. Resentment is a major thing that will happen in an entrepreneur's life, usually in the earlier stages. On the flip side of that, what's going to happen is you're also going to get these people in the very beginning when you're starting out, because everybody loves an underdog, right? You're going to get people that are like, good for you, good for trying. This very like underhanded way of saying like, yeah, go ahead and try it, like good for you, and then you start to get a little success. And then that person backs off a little bit, like, oh, you're a big shot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. People are funny like that, huh?
Yeah. That's kind of where you start to see where your real friends are and the people who really support you are too, because that's another thing to get comfortable with along the way. Entrepreneurship is a lifelong journey of discomfort. And one of the things that you're going to have to get comfortable with is shedding people out of your life that don't support you.
Yeah.
Did you experience any of that?
Yeah, I mean, with friends and stuff like that, right? So, I mean, but I really don't, it doesn't bother me one bit. It depends on what you are, right? So I'm very introverted, right? But at the same time, I like doing so. It's weird, right? Like I'm very social, but I'm an introvert, right? So I can give a shit about that, those kinds of people. Some really need friends in their lives. There's one friend I've retained forever, basically. I know this guy for like 25 years, and we're very much so on the same wavelength. Right? Similar. I mean, he does something different, but he's an entrepreneur as well, right? We operate very similarly. We actually we were partnered up for a little while. That didn't work out because he's too much of a he's too scared to make. That's just the way he is, right? But those are the kinds of people that I resonate with. So the way I look at it is this: if you start losing friends because of it, get new friends. Really. I mean, you'll start getting like entrepreneur friends, right? Like it makes sense, and that you kind of got to expect that, right? So that's like your circle, right? So if you're working in like corporate America, for example, right? You're gonna get a lot of those kinds of people that they don't like risk at all. That's why they're working in corporate America, right? So you get that kind of stuff. I even had it with my father, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And he's a business owner.
Yeah.
But he was looking for the opposite for me, because he was like, oh, you go work at this big company, they give you all these benefits, and you get a 401k, and you get a pension and all this stuff. In the meantime, you have the golden handcuffs on and you can't do shit.
Yeah.
Right? There's only so much you could do at a company like that. So I think it just kind of depends, right? Your upbringing, what you have around you, right? But it's like understanding who's doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Because look, sometimes some people give the false sense that they're doing well. Right? What's that called? We were kind of talking about this a little bit before. When you get in certain groups, right, and people start to like coddle each other, and their stuff sucks, and nobody wants to tell them that their stuff sucks. Yeah. And they're putting out trash, right? Yeah. And they're not getting results, and they can't understand why. And everybody around them saying, "Hey, you're doing great," right? Sometimes you need somebody to tell you you're not doing good. Yeah.
You need somebody to call your baby ugly.
There you go. Call your baby ugly.
And instead of us all just having ugly babies and supporting our ugly babies, we're not going to learn anything by not. And that's one thing I always ask for. And I get criticized for this, is that people will tell me I'm doing good, and they'll say that I can't accept a compliment. It's not that I can't accept a compliment. Like, I'm okay with hearing it, thank you, but I actually want to know whatever I'm doing at any stage, how to make it better. Tell me what sucks about it. Tell me what's not good. Even if you thought 90% of it was good, tell me about the 10% that you didn't like. This way I can make it even better, because we're constantly striving to make it better, right? Another thing that you mentioned too was people in the corporate world, or people that are in that kind of job, and we talked about it before, about them kind of shaming you. What they don't understand is that entrepreneurs, we're problem solvers, right? And the reason why we start a business is because an entrepreneur, clearly defined, is somebody who starts a business to solve a problem. The end. If you start a painting business, you're an entrepreneur. If you start a trucking business, you're an entrepreneur. If you start a Amazon business, you're an entrepreneur. You don't need to be in tech or some big thing to be labeled an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is somebody who starts a business to solve a problem, period. Fight me. You know what I mean? So what they don't understand is that they're in a job, these people that are shaming you are in a job that was started by an entrepreneur. Oh, you're a doctor in a hospital? An entrepreneur started that hospital. Oh, you're a lawyer at a big law firm? A lawyer started that law firm. With the exception of maybe government, which years and years ago was just an entrepreneur who started government, you know what I mean, essentially?
Yeah, to a point, yeah.
Everybody is in a position and they have their job because some entrepreneur started that business to solve a problem. So if you're at a company that makes multi-billion dollars a year and you're part of that company and you're bragging about your comfort and your safety, you only have that comfort and safety because somebody started a business to solve a problem and they did it very, very well, and now you're a part of that too. So that's what we're trying to do as entrepreneurs. Usually, sometimes is try and build a culture like that, is try and solve a problem so big that we can solve other problems for other people and hire great people as well too that understand it. And that's why this startup culture is all about also hiring people that align with your mission.
Very true.
So what's your mission?
Definitely careful of who I hire. That's why we keep it so tight. We've gone down that path, man. It's hard to hire good, without a doubt. Or people, they disguise themselves really well. I think I'm a really good judge of character, and I've been fooled a couple times over the last couple of years, and that can become a huge nightmare within a small business. So be careful when hiring. Be smart. Go back to your question again. I'm sorry.
So that's part of the mission, though, too. Is sometimes you hire people. Hiring the wrong people is the best way to find out how to hire the right people. Hiring the right people a lot of times happens by clearly defining what your mission is. So what's your mission, and how do you get that across when you're looking to hire people?
Yeah, so basically our goal here is to offer people a solution, right? So we're a solution provider at the end of the day. We're solving a problem. Offer a solution that's affordable, right? But also very premium to help scale brands at the end of the day, right? Whatever it be, product development, it be marketing, whatever we do for them, creative work. So our mission is to offer that at an affordable level and do it at a very high level at the same time.
Yeah. Something you said to me a while back, and I want to talk about it a little bit. I don't know the full details of it, but what a lot of people don't understand is there's a lot of options out there if they want to go on Amazon. There's a lot of agencies to work with them. But you said you're actually part of a select few group of 7 or 8.
Oh, yeah.
So talk a little bit about that, because that's a major differentiator for you.
Yeah, so right now there's I think 68 or 7, some between 65 and 70 agencies are actually certified by Amazon. So we're within their service provider network. So we actually had to open our books. Right, we gave them access to accounts that we currently manage. You essentially give them the token to the account, and they check it out and they see what you do. And we got approved for every single thing that we applied for. So anything from the geeky stuff to the creative stuff, right? So that goes very far with Amazon. Some people advertise that they're solution partners, right? But they don't tell you in what.
Yeah.
So they might have got approved in one thing. So we're approved to do exactly what we do, which is kind of different for our industry. That we also recently just got a partnership with GS1.
Yeah.
So the barcode people, we have a video about that coming out soon. That's different as well. A lot of agencies don't do that because they don't even know to use the right barcodes and things like that. So we try to position ourselves with these companies to make sure that our clients understand that we're very professional at what we're doing and they can feel better about it.
And that's a major differentiator for anybody out there, because you said 65, 70 agencies. There's got to be thousands of agencies out there that do what you do. Mm-hmm. You've opened up your books to Amazon. You were completely transparent with them this way that you can work with. That seems to be part of your core culture, which is you being transparent not only with Amazon, but with your target, your potential clients, and then your customers as well too, right?
Yes.
Which is not what you always find in Amazon. A lot of people like to hold those cards close to the chest and not really talk about them, whereas you're kind of doing it the other way. You're giving a lot of value in that sense, but you're also creating trust between you and your potential clients, would you say?
Yeah, on both sides, right? So they know we're being transparent, and then since we share so much information with them, they know some of this stuff's proprietary, right? So they could essentially hurt us if they wanted to, right? But why would they?
Yeah.
Right. Same reason why our agreements are all open-ended. So we don't have any long-term contracts. And why do you do that? Well, simple, because if you're not happy with our work, right? You'll leave, right? So that's really bad for churn rates if you think about it, right? We have a very good churn rate. So I do that for its customer trust, but I avoid headache too.
Yeah.
Because I'm not locking you into a yearly contract or something like that. This comes from experience of doing things where it wasn't always like this, and you know what I mean? So you learn from your mistakes in the past because it wasn't always like that.
Right. This is the new way of doing business. This is the culture that we live in today. Because so many people have fucked up, and because people like the Bernie Madoffs of the world, who was running a hedge fund, but his clients couldn't tell people that he was hired, did everything secret, everything was hush hush. Like, we see what that results in. We know how that story ended for Bernie Madoff, right? So we know now, like as savvy business owners, that the differentiator is being very transparent about what you do. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs that are like, they won't even talk to me before I sign an NDA or about their business, even if I'm coaching them, or they're even afraid to launch their business because they're like, I don't want to put my business out there, or I don't want to put my product out there because I don't want to be copied. But you can't do that. You have to put it out there. You have to be transparent. And the thing you need to get comfortable with is that if somebody does copy you, when they copy you,
they will. Yeah.
When they copy you, you will then have the next best idea. If you are a one-trick pony, then you shouldn't be doing this anyway. You need to be comfortable with yourself that you came up with this thing and you're going to come up with the next thing and the next thing. And anyone who ever copies you is only going to be behind you. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, stuff's changing every single day. Even with us in general, even let's say the geeky stuff, right? Let's say we're doing advertising for somebody on Amazon, right? The algorithm's constantly changing. Like they've had, I think, 10 different algorithms up to now, right? And there's always like little things that change. So even if I show you everything, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, right? But I can give you some advice that maybe you can benefit from. That's why we put free advice out there, right? Even in our course, right? At that exact second, everything was the most up-to-date thing, to the point where I had to reshoot some things because Amazon changed the policy within a month before the thing came out. So we just reshot it. So when this thing comes out, it's 100% up-to-date, right? Things change every day. So that was 100% up-to-date maybe a couple months ago, right? Is it enough to change it? It's not worth taking? No, absolutely not. All the information is there, but every single day stuff changes and you need to stay on top of it. So why be worried that someone's going to copy you?
Right.
Because you're changing every single day, right? And if you're not, you're dying.
Right.
That's really what it comes down to. So I don't know why people do that. Like they hold it too close to the chest or they don't want to share. I think there's some of it's like they just don't know or they're shady at the same time if you don't want to share.
I think it comes from, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of this too. I think it comes from an understanding of they have this one thing and they think that this idea is the idea that's going to make them money. And what they don't understand is that it's not your idea that's going to make you money. It's you as an entrepreneur, as a problem solver. If you were smart enough to come up with this one idea, well, then you need to see that idea through, and that idea is going to produce another idea to then spawn off of this too. So you need to put it out there, because the one problem that they face is they'll try and quietly put it into the market, and you can't go into the market that way. You need to, when you go into the market, you need to tell everybody about what you're doing. You need to feel out the market. You need to put your ugly baby out there so that people can tell you that it's ugly so that you can make it better. And they're not doing that, and then their idea will fail because they didn't get themselves enough exposure and they didn't do it because they were so worried about somebody copying it. Here's the first uncomfortable thing you need to be okay with. Somebody is going to copy you. It's going to happen. And so when it does happen, just be okay with that, and just be okay with constantly innovating the next thing that you're going to be able to do. To go into the lab and put in the long, geeky, nerdy hours to come up with the next thing, so that whoever just copied you will now copy that and you'll come up with the next thing. And you do that time after time, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. You're now known as the innovator in your industry, and everybody else is known as the copycats, which is okay, as long as you continue to do the work and be that person. But that's where the pressure comes in too, is now you need to, like we were talking about before, is I need to come up with the next thing that's going to bring my business to the next level.
It should come though, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'm naive to it sometimes too, but like for me, it just kind of naturally comes. Like as you're doing it, and then it's like, ooh, this could be something, or you just kind of move on to different things. Like even how our business is expanding right now, like we were just like a service provider. Now we're also slowly but surely becoming more of an educator and a coaching company and things like that, right? You're adding additional components to your business that, whether it be this or product, right? You're putting a moat around your business, right?
Yeah.
So it should kind of happen naturally. I mean, you have to have your eyes open to it, right? But it should kind of happen naturally. So if they don't put it out there, right, step 2 will never come. Right. And we see this a lot with product. Exactly what you just said. People are scared. Same idea, trying to make me sign NDAs. There was actually a product that I was going to invest in. I was going to give them money, somebody from the blocks. and they made me sign an NDA, and it was a complete fucking waste of time.
Yeah.
Like my time in general to sign the NDA and then to actually go through the thing. It was almost like they were hiding what it was, right? Because it wasn't good. That's what I felt like. It wasn't a good product at all.
Look, we're not saying don't protect yourself, right? If you have a patent, I mean, if you have something that's truly original, get a patent, get a trademark, do all the things and everything too, but don't hide it from the public who's going to actually help you develop this product or this idea.
Well, because here's what people don't realize when it comes to, especially if they're concerned with product, right? Let's say we're talking about product, right? No one's going to copy shit unless you show some proof first.
Right.
So you're going to start making some sales, and then the goal is to just get ahead of it as quickly as you can. Same stuff happens on Amazon all the time. We get copied, like really seriously copied, right?
Yeah.
But the whole idea is first to market, and once we get we get far ahead enough, I don't care. I don't care what happens after that, right? I can't help that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just got to hope that you're differentiated enough where it really won't matter, right?
Yeah.
And then they'll copy again, so you differentiate again, right? You add a variation. You do what you have to do. That'll always happen. But if somebody's copying you, it means you're making sales.
Yeah.
So your baby's to market, right? You're making money. So what if they copy you, right?
Right.
But if you don't want to put it out because you're scared someone's going to copy you, where are you now?
Right. It's a necessary step. You have to do it, and you're going to get copied. And if you don't, then you're just not going to get to the next level.
Everybody gets copied.
Yeah.
Okay. Nike gets copied all day. Apple gets copied. They deal with it. You know, it's just what it is.
Yeah, and they constantly innovate. And this is where then we go back to what we were talking about before, where you hire good people to constantly come up with better solutions, better products, better ways to differentiate yourself from other people in the market.
And you need it. You need it because you can't think of everything as the CEO of your company, right? You need people around you that you can trust. I can blindly trust everybody who works for me, like blindly, 100%. I don't need to check on anything. Like she makes all the decisions she wants. Eric makes all the decision he wants. You know, I don't have to worry about it. It's rare that I have to step in for something.
No, as a leader, you have to let the people that you've chosen in those roles to make those decisions.
Because otherwise it's me doing it.
Right.
It's not like my time. I can care I have no respect for my time sometimes. It's not that. It's more so I hired you because you're creative. I hired you because you worked at a Fortune 5, Eric, you worked at a Fortune 500 company and ran a department, and you're gonna set my company up for success, right? Like I'm not worried about you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I start nitpicking and getting involved there, first of all, you hurt morale in general. I've been there, the other side of that, right? Years ago, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to do that to people, and you're not truly giving that side of your business or that component of your business opportunity to flourish. You know what I mean?
I want to talk about that for a second too, because here's where there's a mistake. There's two mistakes I've made. You either hire somebody and then you micromanage them, which is a mistake made too often, or the flip side of that, which is you hire somebody and then you just let them also blindly do what they have to do. And that, what we're talking about right now, you can't do that also. What I do differently is when I do have an SOP for somebody in their specific group, and somebody actually helped me out with this recently. I'm gonna give him a shout out. Alex Kolombievsky actually helped me out with this, and I started redoing my SOPs this way too. I now have, rather than my SOPs saying how to do something in my company, my SOP will give them pretty much a base guideline, and I'll say you can change these guidelines if you find a better way. But at the end of my SOP, I now have a result. I said, as long as the SOP, whatever you do, you have whatever freedom you want inside of here, as long as the result comes to this. So now I hire my people, I say, here's the SOP in the way that we're doing it, here's the result that we get, and you have the freedom to change this SOP as long as you get this result or better. If you're getting worse, I will step in and I'll have to help you. Although if you need help, if you can achieve this or better, you can either stick to my guidelines or change these guidelines. So one other thing that I want to talk about is you and I have another common denominator other than being from Jersey, two guys that like to do the boring stuff. We were both on a reality show called The Blocks, hosted by Wes Bergman. You were a judge mentor on season 9. I was a following season. I was a judge mentor on season 10, judge mentor on season 12, and I actually competed on season 5. A lot of the things we're talking about today apply to early stage entrepreneurs. So while you were there and you saw there's about 80 businesses that were there, right? Yeah. While you were there, what were some of the common denominators that you saw of the early stage entrepreneurs and some of the problems that they were going through and how you were able to help them? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it was like mind-blowing, like the whole experience. So I was a little nervous going into it. I don't know about you, like you're a little nervous because people are looking at you now to do this thing for your business and for their business. And even though you're super confident in what you're doing, right, you get concerned because you're like, well, I know my business. What if they bring up some random ass business that I've never heard of? And that's when you start to realize it actually doesn't matter. It's all the same. If you have the concept right and you understand the basics of it, right, it all translates, right?
Yeah.
Mindset. That's what's important, having the right mindset when it comes to business. There was a lot of coaching businesses.
Yeah.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
Did you have that on your seasons as well?
I did, but one thing I like about this is I always say a coach without a coach is a liar.
Yeah.
So the fact that they were there looking for mentorship tells me that they're the real deal. And I like the fact that they were there and we were able to help them put more of that out into the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I also, what I took away from that was it was very, because, you're there for free. You know what I mean? Like you lose a week of your time, and that's a lot of money,
Yeah.
right? When you're, I lose a decent amount of money if I leave the office for like a full week. Yes, you have staff in place and things like that, but you can close less deals or whatever. So there's a cost to that. But I was curious, right? That's why I did it to start with. I was just very curious, and it was honestly like within like maybe the last 5 years of my life, I think that's been one of the most rewarding, or maybe the most rewarding things I've ever done. Yeah. And our course, I think, came from that whole mindset of helping people, because I wasn't thinking that before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then it's like, wait, if I could just put this thing out here and I can help people and they can go do their thing with it, it's pretty awesome. You know what I mean? For me, it was super rewarding just to do it. You know what I mean?
And that kind of goes to what we were saying before, which is like when you get to a certain point, you owe a debt to the other people out there trying to, and it becomes more clear and more obvious because it's like, all right, I am where I'm at right now for my business. Let me take a week off to go raise the tides up a little bit more and just create more substance for problem solvers, aka entrepreneurs out there. This way, it's all being done in the right way, because there's so much garbage out there for entrepreneurs. We almost feel obligated to put the better stuff out there for them too, and a lot of that is the nerdy things that we spoke about before. So really, particularly, there's a lot of coaching businesses. There's a lot of pet grooming businesses there too.
Yep.
So, talk about some of the very specific nerdy things that you got into detail with for these coaching businesses. What was the main problem they were facing, and what was the nerdy thing that they needed to do more of?
So I think the general thing that a lot of people kind of come out with is the whole, how do I take this to the next level? Right? Like the next level, next level, whatever that means. So my first question to them is like, well, where are you at right now? Yeah. What level are you, if we're going to have this conversation about next level, what level are you at right now, right? Just having that basic understanding of where you are now and where you want to be. Okay, now you know where you want to be, then how are you going to get there, right? And it's so basic sometimes, right? So that's when you sit down, you start making a list of what you need to do to get there, right? And it's not that cheesy bullshit list, right? But legitimately, what steps do I need to take to get there? How do I figure that out? Well, maybe you have a coach, whatever it is, right? People can tell you what you need to do to get there, and you start checking those boxes, right? It's really that simple. Yeah. And it's, once again, it's rinse and repeat. You need to give it time. Not everything's going to work. Some stuff's going to fail, and the stuff that works, you double down on. Yeah. Right? That's what it is. But I think people almost need that permission sometimes. They need permission. They want to hear that. They want somebody to tell them, hey, this is what you need to do. Yeah. Because of all the bullshit they have going on in their lives when they're trying to, build their business, Yeah.
So like one of the things I saw, particularly with coaches or anybody that's out there helping, maybe they weren't a business coach, but maybe they were, a mindset coach or a trauma healer or something like that, and they had their business, and they're just getting started out and they're doing okay, and they have like maybe 10 or 12 good customers, but they're fixated on this idea that they have to scale to 200 customers like that, and it doesn't really work like that. So here's the thing that I wanted them to do. Here's the nerdy thing that I was telling them is that, look, you have 10, 11, 12 good customers, which is great because they love you and they're helping, they're promoting you, they're sharing. But let's get really nerdy about it. Let's diagram who they are. Let's open up a spreadsheet, right? And just go customer by customer, and then make columns of their personality traits, and have these conversations with them and start documenting this. So, what I wanted them to do was to go to their 10, 11, 12 customers, what it was, ask them questions like, why did you choose me instead of another coach? What did you like about my services in the beginning? What do you like about my services now? What do you think that I can change that can make me better? Make a spreadsheet of these and start looking at common denominators of all these 10, 11, 12 people that are already doing business with you. Because what you're going to find as you do this, and as you do this nerdy work and having these conversations now, is you're going to stare at that list and you're going to stare at these personality traits, and it's essentially going to diagram for you your target of who you're now going to advertise to next, because your next level is to get from 12 customers to 20 customers, from 20 customers to 40 customers. So if you can find common denominators in the customers that you have based on conversations you're having with them, then to really like reel this in is you can then find out what makes up that customer base, and go into these, if you're gonna advertise, go into these drop downs and say that, I worked with people that were very empathetic. So other people that are empathetic are also going to take to your advertising if you're doing it the right way. Obviously, we can get into the creative and everything like that too. But now you know exactly who your core base is that is buying into you and your service, and it creates a roadmap of how you're going to get your next customers, whether it be through content, advertising, or anything like that.
Agreed, 100% agreed. Yeah, and that's so easy to get.
Yeah.
Especially if they're already existing customers, it's a simple survey. Just send out a survey with like your newsletter or something. Boom, you have all this data, right? And the rest you can fill in. Like you know their age and stuff like that, right? You can fill that in. And we do this all day and people don't even notice. Even like you come into our free course, we ask you, not when you come into the course, you go into the Facebook group, right? The extra thing that we give you, right?
Yeah.
Where'd you find us? Simple stuff like that.
Right.
Simple stuff like that. It's like, it's not even a big deal and you're used to seeing it all the time, right?
Yeah.
Because we do things in a way where it doesn't feel like we're trying to get something out of you, right? It's not overbearing, right? We're gentle about it, right? Why do I do that? Where am I going to put my efforts? That's what that tells me.
Here's one of the
That's all it is. Where am I going to be?
Here's one of the main things I hear with the blocks, because my question to them as I'm sitting down with them is, they'll say, I have X amount of customers, and I'll say, okay, how did they find you? How do your customers now find you? Same question, same answer every single time. Word of mouth.
Bullshit. Bullshit. Come on.
They think it's word of mouth. So it is bullshit, but they don't think it's bullshit, right? Because it's word of mouth. But what they don't understand is word of mouth is a network effect of something else that you did.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where I say, okay, so this is like, now I have a base point. So now let's go backwards. Okay, they said word of mouth. That word of mouth that they heard was from somebody else that found you another way. You put some other form of content out there when you had 0 customers, because there was no word of mouth, because there was no customers to refer you. So let's backtrack. And a lot of times they don't realize that the word of mouth was just a network effect of something else. So we have to get to the bottom of the thing that you actually did to achieve that word of mouth, and then create more word of mouth, where we're not really creating word of mouth. We're doing the thing that spawned the word of mouth.
Yeah. Because word of mouth benefits your marketing, but it's not a marketing strategy.
Right.
By no means, right? So that's just you doing a good job. And I mean, it happens all the time, right? You post something, it happened the other day, even us, we said something in the blocks group actually, and boom, a couple people jumped in. Oh, we're working with them now, this and that. That just happens. Like you said, it's a market effect, right?
Yeah.
That's not marketing. So some people say, oh, it's word of mouth. How? But that's when you really need to drill down with them and help them understand that. No. How did you initially attract these people?
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of times the initial thing that worked is what's going to work long term too.
Right. And they didn't do more of that. Once they started to get a couple customers,
they got happy.
They stopped doing it. And then they based it on word of mouth. But like, I'd rather have word of mouth firing 1,000 miles an hour than 50 miles an hour. And for me, a lot of times when I start to drill down, I usually hear that it's like, I called up a couple businesses and I offered my services for free, almost as like a little taste before they started doing something else. Or I made some content and some people liked it on Instagram or something like that. And I'm like, all right, well, why? Not why'd you stop? I'm still making content. All right, but why aren't you making more of it? Why aren't you doing more of that? This way you can get more customers and more word of mouth. Are there anything, like when you actually drill down, is there anything else that you're seeing that they did to help get customers? Because this is a big question I get all the time.
No. I mean, that's the problem that you see all the time, right? They don't know how, if they have any kind of success, right, where they're actually asking that question. Or sometimes people ask that question when they shouldn't yet, right? But let's say they should be asking that question. How do I get to the next level, right? It's that simple. They just need to go back to the beginning. Whatever that one first thing was that made them successful. They forget in this whole thing of entrepreneurship or the hustle of daily life, they forget to go back to that first thing that initially made them great, that first thing that made them work, right? And people struggle with that for some reason. And I've heard that so much, like word of mouth.
Yeah.
I believe in that, but No.
Once they see that it was a network effect to something else, that's where it's like, all right, like now we're getting to some substance here. Now we can really drill in on the things that got you business. So now we can get you 100 customers. And I want to come to that in a second, because so many people are after 1,000 customers or 10,000 customers that kind of like their thing, where what you really need is 50 to 100 customers that love your thing so much that they're going to promote you and talk about you. But just for those that don't know too, the Blocks is a reality show about entrepreneurship. There is about 80 entrepreneurs in each season, and they're given a course throughout the day, and then they need to make a pitch or have some sort of activity where they either make a pitch or they do a quiz or they do something else, and they're scored on it, and then they get about 15 minutes of a one-on-one session, much like this with one of the judges. And it's incredibly difficult for this is probably a challenge that you had too. It's incredibly difficult for us because we need to be meaningful. We only get 15 to 20 minutes with each entrepreneur, and we need to learn about their business, learn what their struggles are, and be meaningful with a solution to them, all in about 15 to 20 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. So the one good thing that I
training,
it's tough. The one good thing I find is that a lot of them have the same problem, which is okay, because then when, like, they're all sitting in the room, which is good because they're all hearing what another entrepreneur's struggle is, which is really good to the rest of the room, because it's like, oh my God, I'm going through that too. So the whole thing is almost therapeutic in a sense too.
You're being impactful to everybody, even if you're just working with that one person.
Yeah.
Right. And don't kid yourself. They're seeing how you're working with that one. They're all taking notes and stuff like that, right? So you made a change in their lives before you even spoke to them. Yeah. Which is pretty cool.
And like you mentioned too, it's a very rewarding experience, and taking the time away from our business to go work with them, I feel it's a duty.
You have to. You should. If you don't, you're just a piece of shit, right? So like, I mean, look, I get it. Some people want to do it. I don't love people all the time. I'm my own way, right? But like, even when in the beginning of the Blocks, it took about a day for people to warm up to me. Yeah. Like even Cassie was saying, she's like, at first people thought you were kind of a dick. Yeah. Which I kind of am. It's what I'm real. That's the problem. There's people from all over the country that they're not used to, like, kind of the way we are from here. Yeah. She's like, I can't believe how much people love you. But like the last day it was crazy. But because you need to warm up to me. That's the way I am, right? So for me, that was kind of a bit of a challenge in the beginning, because I'm like, well, I'm not going to be different. I'm going to be my way, and it might be a little tough the first day because that's just the way I am. You know what I mean?
This is a different culture here in Jersey, and you've been around the country too, so you know there's that hospitality in the South that they'll be nice to you no matter what. Mm-hmm. Whereas we're a little standoffish at first. Like we want to see what you want, not in a sense because we're on the edge, but because I want to read what you want this way, to your point, so I can deliver it. Yeah. So I'm going to come off standoffish, but once I find out what you want, then you're going to warm up to me, because I'm sitting here asking you questions, and it almost sounds like I'm interrogating you, which could be that standoffish part, which could be that, and then once I start delivering, you're like, oh my God, you were actually listening to me.
That's exactly what happened.
As you were asking these questions, and you seemed a little brash or abrasive, if you will. But then once you started delivering the answers back, then that's where the warm-up part comes in. You're like, he does really care. He just also cares enough to cut through the bullshit and ask the questions that are going to help him formulate a meaningful answer.
Because some people can't get to the fucking point, right? So they go round and round. It's like, okay, cool, now your 15 minutes are up.
Yeah.
So you try to get to that point as quickly as you can. And after people understood that, they flowed with me, man. Then they got it. It's like, why you do? Because I legitimately tried, and I think I did it every single time, where I got like an aha moment. That was my goal. Like, you kind of go through with everybody, and then I tried so hard to make sure I gave them that one thing that they could walk away from, and it became a habit for every single session. And I never would have thought I'd be able to do that for every single one. You know what I'm talking about, right? When you get them with something, 100%. And you're like, do this, and they're like, holy shit. Yeah. And it's like, wow. I impress myself.
You don't get to that moment though unless you get the information out of it.
You got to get it, and it's hard. You have to be quick, and
you need the baseline information from them too first. So here's what I did like the second time around too, which was more meaningful, just because. But it also resulted in like day 1 and 2 being like, okay, this guy's like a little intimidating, or he's a bit of a dick. You know what I mean? Which is. Before we did our day 1 class, because here's the day 1 class, everybody's nervous. The cameras are rolling, everybody's nervous, right? So when we're doing our questions, when we're doing the consults, I'm asking questions to get baseline information this way that I can say something meaningful to you. But I pose a question, and the person on the other end thought it was a prompt to give like a 4-minute speech on something. And that 4 minutes you just used took away from me discovering about you. So what I would do is when I noticed people going to that speech, I stopped them immediately, or even before the class started, I would say, hey, look, I'm going to ask you questions when you get up here. Give me the most precise, simple answer you possibly can, because I promise you I got 10 more right behind it, this way that we can get to the real meat and potatoes of what's going on. And some of them like didn't like that at first. They were just like, well, I want to talk about what I want to talk about. And you'll get a chance to do that, but we need all the information before we talk about it.
Well, because some people are on there because they think they're just going to get the camera time, right? But if you pull those moves, it's just going to get cut.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter, right? So it's in their best interest too to make sure you put together the meaningful stuff.
Yeah.
So then it'll end up in the show, right? So that benefits them as well. But at the end of the day, yeah, they'll get some publicity for being on the show, obviously, right? Like you actually get a lot of attention for being on the show. It's a great opportunity for people,
right.
But you really want to walk away with something from it, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just, you know what I can't stand? The Shark Tank pitch. You know what I'm talking about? There's a certain way people pitch something that sounds like it was on Shark Tank. I can't stand it.
It's not unique.
It's not at all. It's like the whole, and I don't know if they do that on Shark Tank to say, hey, you're going to do this, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do that, right?
Yeah.
I can't stand it. And whenever there was a couple people who did that, and I tried to help them refine their pitch a little bit. I'm like, it sounds too salesy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, don't step off a little. Don't just talk about your business. Don't sell me on your business.
Yeah, that's the calling somebody's baby ugly, which is kind of a necessity, which, you know, somebody's either going to hate you or love you at the end of it, and you just got to shoot your shot, and they're going to feel the way they feel.
But it sounds unnatural, and it's like, what the fuck you doing? Like, just tell me about your business. Like, you can't just tell me about your business. Why do you need to do this whole thing? Like, you'd see people's faces prepare.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing? It's what it is, you know what I mean?
At the end of it, though, like, they're so brave for actually coming up and doing that. And allowing us to call their baby ugly, you know what I mean? And allowing us to do that. So it's like, the fact that they're there, I already admire them, because they're you know, one of 80 businesses that were chosen of the thousands of businesses that applied, not to mention all the people that are thinking about starting a business but haven't tried yet, or the people that are thinking about starting a business but don't want to do something like this because they venture into this city alone. You know what I mean? They do this, and then they get put in a room with other entrepreneurs that are usually pretty high caliber compared to them as well. And it's kind of nerve-wracking, and then they put themselves out there. So I admire that. So we talk about that at first, and then we get right to the point of okay, now you're here, now you did the thing. Let's get to the help. A quick shout out I have to give it to, because the Blocks season 11 just premiered yesterday. And that right now can be seen on their Facebook page at Beta Blocks, or you can download the Blocks app and you can watch the entire season 11, which neither Patrick or myself are on. But a good friend of ours, Jordan Bell, is actually on there, and as always, you can see Wes Bergman giving his teachings throughout the course, the entrepreneurs going through it, and great mentorship happening throughout the entire season. So check that out. Season 11 just aired. A couple more months will be season 12, and they're going to keep on rolling with this. So check out that content as well too, because watching that show will go over a lot of actual classes and things that early stage entrepreneurs need. And if you actually have not heard about that show, or you want to apply, you can always go to betablocks.com and apply to the show as well, if that's something that you want to do.
Absolutely. That's what you forget, how many people this helps outside of that group, right? All these people watching and stuff, so it's tremendous. Yeah.
I've actually gotten a chance to talk to a lot more of them, because you know, in the emails that they send out every time there's an episode, they're promoting like the Beta Blocks, the actual incubator, where like I'm doing a little bit of work with them on doing the interviews to admit them, and a lot of them came into the Beta Blocks incubator because they're like, oh, I've been watching the show for a year or 2 years, but I don't want to go on TV. I just want to make my business better, so I want to do this incubator too. And you can apply to that too, also at betablocks.com. But you know, talking to those people, I never realized how many people actually watch the show to help their business out, and that are actually pulling from it too. So you and I will be in the zone with the entrepreneur sitting across from us, being like, how can I help this person? Not knowing that there's one other person on the other end that may be looking for that exact same advice too.
Thousands.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it, right? So you televise it, you put it out there, and you help other people too. It's so cool, because it's like part of the allure for people is to do it, and then they get attention for their business too at the same time, right?
Yeah.
That enables us to put together this really cool raw content, because it's a reality show, but it's not a reality show.
Right.
Like, there's no made up shit. It's what it is. Like, there's no, hey, let's create the situation. I was worried about that when we first went on there, but I realize everyone's cool and no one's like trying to do that. You know what I mean? Which is super cool because we're all concerned about our own image too, right?
Right.
We don't want to be put in a weird situation. Now I trust the show blindly. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So here's some cool behind the scenes stuff. So one, Wes talks about that all the time, and even on camera they air it, which is the fact that yes, this is a reality show, and he loves reality TV, but they've baked an incubator, a business incubator or a business accelerator into the show itself. All right. So, you come on there and it's exciting, but you're going to leave a better entrepreneur, which 100%. Is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the second thing you said, which is, I can't tell you how many times I fucked up on camera and like my aggressive side just came out, particularly in season 5, and they cut that shit right out. Thank God. In season 5, did I tell you this story? In season 5.
What do you do?
So I went into season 5. I was a competitor on season 5, and I'm super competitive. You know me by now.
Yeah.
It's like whatever it is, there's nothing standing in my way. And especially if it's a person. And like as much as I want to help entrepreneurs, and I did want to actually help other people out. I didn't know what I was walking into in season 5. I just went in there, like typical arrogant Bryan. Like I'm gonna fucking crush it over here. I'm gonna kill anybody standing in my way. Like they're all my competition. And I went in with a game plan. And I walked into the room and I started assessing who the biggest risk was, like right away, and walked right up to that person. And I started asking them questions about their business and everything. And the hyper competitive part in me started coming out, and it started coming out in the confessions. And this is really funny actually. So like they pulled me aside on like the first day just to do like a confessional or something like that after we did our course and we didn't know if, like what we were scored yet. It was like lunchtime. So they pulled me aside and they're like, "How do you think you did? And how do you think your competitors were? And how do you think that you're gonna fare against them?" And like I was charged up. So like I'm like looking at the camera and I'm like, I'm gonna smoke these motherfuckers. Nobody here deserves a fucking chance more than I do. I'm gonna go out there and kill it all. I'm sitting there beating on my chest like I was like charged up, right? And then I get up and I get out of the confession booth, and then like I'm going, and I still want to network with people. So then I instantly turn it off and I start talking to people. So tell me about your business. How can I help you and everything, right? And then so like they didn't really know. So like they kept on coming to me like each day, and I felt like they were, because they didn't air a single part of that, right? They knew obviously like it's not part of the brand, but they would keep coming up to me and asking me to do confessions, and I think it was because they wanted to see how crazy I was that day.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, I was like, I got the mission. By the end of it, it's like we're all here to help out each other. Contestants helping out contestants, mentors helping out contestants helping out mentors, learn stuff and everything too. But yeah, I was charged up. And if you're thinking about applying to the show and worried about like looking stupid, don't, because I said a lot of stupid shit on the camera that they never aired. Thank God. They make me look smart.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's not in your control, right? They're gonna air what they want, right? So you can't like review it or whatever, right? But you're right. Like we all kind of fucked up in our little way or one or the other. I could tell they did the best they could to make everybody look as good as possible. Right? It's for everybody's benefit. There's no reason to make anybody's business look bad or people look bad, but they try to, it's got to be entertaining, right? But there's other tricks to that.
Yeah.
You don't have to go that route. There's other tricks to that with videography and stuff like that. And, as a judge, you go in prepared, so you kind of know what to ask, so you look good. I mean, the only like secret sauce to this is we have their submission videos the night before. You actually have them in your pod. So I studied that. Like I spent time the night before or that morning, depending how like business here was, right? Whatever was going on here, where I would watch their videos. So I knew exactly who they were even before they introduced themselves.
Yeah.
That's the magic. Right? So like you have to put that work in. So we're putting that extra work in to make sure that the contestants have the best possible chance for help, right?
Yeah.
So it's better if I already know that shit, so I don't have to actually really listen to you when you're explaining stuff.
Yeah. It avoids those first couple questions because you already got that information on them with those videos.
That, or I know why you started a business. That's very important.
Yeah, super helpful, and shout out to Alden Miller and his team doing everything over there to make all the entrepreneurs and the judges and everybody else look good on the show. And so we've been here talking with Patrick about entrepreneurship and the blocks and everything in between. Patrick, my fellow Jersey guy, I just want to go ahead and thank you for stopping by here, and don't forget to visit Patrick's business at theskunklabs.com.
Theskunklabs.com.
And his free Amazon course, 30dayfba.com. Patrick, thank you so much again for stopping by.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.